The syllabus defines three different types of business in Australia. The first one is a sole trader. Basically, what that means is that this person operates their business by themselves. They may employ people, but ultimately the business profits go back to that person. He's the boss of his own business. Most tradesmen nowadays are sole traders. It's a very easy type of structure to set up. You don't have to pay a lot of money to do it, and there's not a huge amount of paperwork that you have to do in order to become a sole trader in Australia. The second one is a partnership, and it has a lot of the same qualities as a sole trader, except you share with another person or another group of people. So you can have 2 to 20 people in a partnership. And the profits in that business are divided amongst the partners, however they decide in the partnership agreement, in the same way that their investment would be decided in a partnership agreement. For example, one person might own 70% of the business and the other one might own 30% of the business. The third type is a company. So in a company, you would have a number of different people involved in the business. So you might have thousands of people that own a component of the business. The difference between a company and a partnership and a sole trader is that a company is set up so that you have limited liability in that company. So what that means is that each person is only liable for the amount that they actually invest in the business. So say, for example, this person here invests $1,000 and the business goes bankrupt. They can only be accountable for that original $1,000. If the company goes bankrupt and they need more money, they can't, for example, come and take his house. In a partnership and a sole trader, though, you have unlimited liability. So what that means is that, for example, if your sole trader goes bankrupt and he owes $500,000 to a supplier, then that supplier can actually apply to get the money off him. So if he owns his own house, then he would actually have to sell his house in order to pay off the debt. In a partnership, it's very similar. Unfortunately, though, in a partnership, if you own 70% of the business and somebody else owns 30%, you share liability in that business. So this is shared liability. So if your partner is a dodgy partner and they go off and gamble all your money, then you're still responsible for the debts in the business. So you'll have to really trust your partner in order to go into business with them. So why doesn't everyone set up a company? The problem is that the more protection that you get down the scale here in terms of your assets, also the more difficult it is to set up that type of business. However, you also, if you go down the scale here, there's also more cash flow available. For example, it's much easier to get a loan if you're a company rather than a sole trader. It's much easier to get capital in terms of having more people in the business if you're in a partnership. So there's definitely advantages as you go along the scale, but there's also disadvantages in terms of the difficulty that it takes to set up. And also then if you decide to close the business, it's also more difficult to close down a company than it is for a sole trader. Obviously, if you're getting more cash flow too, then you're obviously going to be sharing the profits with somebody. So a sole trader keeps the profits all to themselves, whereas in a company, you have to share the profits with the other owners of the company, and the same with a partnership. So there's advantages and disadvantages both ways.